important and we should accept it. It's a driver of economic growth, and it also adds to kind of our civic life. It differentiates us from a lot of communities because we have great cultural traditions here, and we have a great artistic community here. Three things I just want to talk about. One is the Beck Center had a real crisis, a real financial crisis, and I thought it was appropriate for the city to help. So we took about $50,000 in energy efficiency funds that we had won from the federal government, and we gave that to the Beck Center. And the city had helped the Beck Center in years prior, but never in a way, in my opinion, that was really accountable. We were giving them funds in a way that would make them more sustainable. And we also asked them to appoint one of our administration members on their finance committee, basically, of their board of trustees so that we could be stewards with them of our investment. And I think it's working. We've had a lot of success promoting an arts district in the Birdtown area. We have about 36 artists now that are setting up shop in the old Lake Erie Screw building. Talk about a success story. When Lake Erie Screw closed, they hired a property manager, and basically his original job was just to turn out the lights and make sure that nobody broke into the place. And he took the bull by the horns and was very aggressive about it. We started working with him. There are more people working there now than when Lake Erie Screw was there in the last few years of its existence, including manufacturing jobs. There have been more manufacturing jobs added in Lakewood in the last 2 years than in the previous 20. And they were all companies that we went and we talked to. We didn't give them some massive subsidy. We just said, listen, we have great space. We'll help a little bit. We'll be business friendly. You might want to move here. And again, the word had gotten out. This is a good place to do business. And then the artistic community really kind of adopted that place. And it's really become a creative place that has taken on a life of its own. Now, 2010 Public Art Initiative, what is that? And you'll notice that there's nothing underneath it, and that's because it really is a blank canvas, so to speak, at this point. And I want to tell you what my concept is, and then I want actually the community to respond to that. And that is, if you look at public art in Lakewood, which I think every great city should have a certain part of its public spaces dedicated to art. And if you look at the number of places in Lakewood where there really is public art, it's very, very few. Very few murals, there's very few examples of public statuary or anything like that. And at the same time, we have so many creative people in this community. Some of them make a living creating art, some of them it's just a hobby. What we're going to do this year is we're going to identify at least a dozen places in the city of Lakewood that would be appropriate for public art. And then we're going to try to raise money and try to engage the arts and culture community and say, we want to turn these public spaces over to you and create art there. It'll give you your artists an opportunity to express themselves, and at the same time, it will elevate kind of our civic life and what the city looks like. And I think we're going to be able to do that. I think we're going to get a response from the community. And that's what I'm hopeful is going to happen. Let's talk about park quality quickly. We saw a lot of federal funds, and we also started a master planning process, which has begun for the first time. The city of Lakewood is going to have a master park planning process for all of our parks and recreation areas. Here are just a few examples of some improvements that we managed to make. One of the things that we did differently, again, first time in the city of Lakewood, was we started making environmental policy. We started having an environmental policy, to be honest with you. We set environmental goals for city operations for the first time. We started looking at what were the carbon emissions, for instance, of the city. What was our gasoline usage? What can we do to be more energy efficient? It makes financial sense, and it's also the responsible thing to do environmentally. Our recycling, we have one of the most expansive recycling projects in the county, and we ended up making it mandatory. I should say City Council did, and that has worked very, very well. It's increased, the tonnage has increased by about 686 tons of curbside recycling. Now, what does that turn into? It's the equivalent of about 57,000 trees, more than 57,000 trees, or 26,000 cubic yards of landfill space. Not only is that the right thing to do environmentally, it also means we have to spend less money trucking our garbage out to some landfill. We also turned some of our public spaces over to a community gardening group called Leaf. We're the first community, again, in this area to do that, and it's been phenomenally successful. There are hundreds of Lakewood residents that are growing their own food using underutilized city park property. We have about 125 tons of carbon emissions have been eliminated, mostly because of our reduction in vehicles. We also retrofitted a lot of our vehicles so that they would spew less pollution into the atmosphere. We're going to start something this year called the Solar Improvement District. Let me tell you what that is if you're not familiar with it. Basically, if you, as either a homeowner or a business owner, want to invest in solar technology or solar heating and cooling systems, we're going to figure out a way to get financing for that so that you don't have to pay all the money up front. So, for instance, if it's a $100,000 project and it will take 20 years for you to save $100,000 in heating and cooling, instead of having to come up with all the money up front, which would be difficult because the payback period is so long, we will get financing for you to be able to do that, and then you will make payments because you will be part of a district which assesses itself to pay for those improvements. Now, we've been partnering with other cities to do that, and I think that before, within a matter of weeks actually, we're going to be able to announce that we have about a dozen cities that are going to partner with us. And I can tell you here tonight that the Port Authority of Cleveland has already agreed to provide the initial financing for it. That was really the hurdle, was who's going to come up with the financing originally. So anyone that signs up for it, whether it's a business or a private owner, is going to be able to sign up for this assessment district, agree to assess themselves, sign a contract with the Port Authority, and then they will collect the taxes that those people have levied on themselves. It is not going to be any cost to the city. It is going to be any cost to anyone that doesn't want to join it. But what it does is it makes investments in renewable energy affordable. And this is a project that Councilman Bullock and I actually have been working on for a while. But we have really made a breakthrough in the fact that the Port Authority is willing to underwrite this. We also got millions of dollars in energy efficiency money to make our own operations more profitable, and we've just got an additional $450,000 because of our gas and electric savings. Another area that we added, I'm on 21, I'm only on 22. Another thing that we added for the first time as a public policy goal was health and wellness in the city. That we had a health department, but we never really tried to measure the health or try to promote just general health. And we've done that really as it has evolved in partnership with the community. Because a citizens group, at the same time that we wanted to make this a policy priority, there's a citizens group called Live Well Lakewood that ended up forming at the same time. They put on a number of events that thousands of Lakewood residents have availed themselves of. It's promoting healthy lifestyles, it's promoting good nutrition, and I think it's extending people's lives. We have a partnership that we've formed with all kinds of different community institutions to try to look at what the health overall of the community is. That's everything from Lakewood Hospital to North Coast Health Ministry to public schools, YMCA, and various community organizations. I think it's working because when they're having these events, people are showing up and they're changing their lifestyles.